What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band Devangelic, entitled Ersetu. This is released on Willowtip Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Rome, Italy, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very dark, apocalyptic, blasphemous style of brutal death metal. Yeah. Ever since Devangelic came into the extreme music world, this band has been nothing short of perfect and have made a very, very impactful statement, not only for their country and their brand of death metal, but for the death metal underground as a whole. Just a really, really terrific band. Pretty much a tried and true sort of formula when it comes to the music and the lyrics, but this band pulled it off so well. Of course, we got a first glimpse of everything with the first demo that they put out, or promo release, back in 2012, and then in 2014 we got their debut full-length entitled Resurrection Denied. Absolutely game changer of an album. What an awesome record. I love that album cover art. I love those guttural vocals. I love those fast-paced drums, those killer riffs. Just straight up evil, nasty, blasphemous, brutal death metal done right and done properly. And I definitely do consider that album to hold up very well and very nicely. And then in 2017, the band followed up that album with Phlegethon. That album was really awesome and solid in its own right, pretty much picking up where Resurrection Denied left off, and just overall being a lot more grown and creative with their musical style and sound. Now moving into 2020, we have the third full-length from Devangelic. What really intrigued me about this album being announced were a couple of things. For one, they're on a brand new label, which I'm pretty sure means more exposure, more of an opportunity to get their name out there, as if they didn't have their name out there already, but more people probably are missing out on something like Devangelic. The other thing that intrigued me was the fact that this was going to be somewhat of a conceptual piece, an almost Sumerian mythological Anunnaki influence sort of thing, Mesopotamian underworld, realm of the dead. If I'm not mistaken, that's what Ersetu loosely translates to. So this was going to be somewhat of a bold conceptual piece, in addition to the band claiming that this is probably the most grown-up material this band has done to date. I was very interested and curious to see how things were going to work out and go, and now here we are with Ersetu. This album is set to be released on May the 15th, but I have an exclusive early review for you. It's 9 tracks, and it clocks in at around 31 minutes in length, so pretty much going into this album, this is going to be a short, sweet, and to-the-point sort of trip. But upon listening to the opening moments of Swarm of Serpents, you can already tell that this is probably the most bold, most ballsiest thing that Devangelic have done to date. I feel like this is a completely different record in comparison to what this band has done previously. But they make it work. They make it work just right. They know exactly what they're doing. They add a lot of modern and contemporary flair to this album, but I definitely don't think it's distracting. I definitely think that this album is brutal in more ways than one, and this will definitely be an eye-opener to not just fans of Devangelic, but to death metal fans in general. This is an absolutely sensational album, and I applaud Devangelic for going the extra mile to create something so amazing. Going on to the music here, it's pretty much what you would know and expect out of Devangelic in as far as making riffs, having very clear audible bass tones here, and you can definitely attribute that to the production of this album. There is some seriously killer production value going on here, and it really does bring out the best in all the instrumentation that you hear throughout this album. And speaking of the instrumentation, the guitar riffs, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Great riffs, great melodies, great attention to detail going on here, with later tracks like Upon the Wrath of Divinities, Subterranean Revelations, Vomiting the Infected. Just a lot of great guitar riffs to be heard throughout this entire record. Probably some of the best riffs I've heard Mario do yet. Of course, that's one of the things that I love the most about Devangelic is Mario's guitar playing. He is a great guitarist. Of course, you know him from stuff like vulvectomy and corpse fucking art. But here on Devangelic, he really brings things to another level here with his guitar playing. He is just so good. The bass on here is just so good, so warm, so crystal clear. You can hear it perfectly in this mix. It definitely holds its own amongst the riffs that you hear throughout this entire album. And I definitely love the fact that they make it a bigger point to have a more crystal clear audible bass sound on this album. It's really, really killer. When it comes to the drums are, as per usual, another really awesome aspect of this album. Very blast beat heavy, very intense, very fast, never lets up, never lets down. It's a short album, and with all the songs that are on here, even some of the lengthier tracks, you get some of the best drumming that you'll hear on a Devangelic record to date, and I think it's really impressive. I love this drummer's speed, skill, intensity, and passion. Just a lot of great stuff to be heard here. And when it comes to the vocals, Paolo is such a distinctive vocalist. I love his vocal deliveries. I love the fact that he's so guttural, so indecipherable. Of course, you know him also for his work with Putridity, and when he joined this band, he definitely became an even bigger force to be reckoned with here in Devangelic. But on this album, I definitely think that this is probably the most clear and the most enunciated I've ever heard him sound. He's still guttural and indecipherable in spots, but you can tell that this is a completely different vocal performance. He has a lot more range, a lot more chops, a lot more aggressiveness this time around, and I definitely love the fact that he changed things up a little bit here. It's a very, very strong vocal performance, and I love how awesome this record sounds. And of course, going back to this album's theme and concept about Mesopotamian underworlds and Sumerian mythologies and all that stuff, you can definitely pick that up in certain parts of the intros, the lead-ups to certain songs. I definitely think that they worked this concept in very well and very nicely. And yeah, I really wish this didn't end so soon. So overall, this is probably, like I said, this is probably one of the most bold moves Devangelic have done yet. But I think it's one of the best things that this band has done to date. If you're a fan of Devangelic, if you're a fan of their first few full lengths, I think you're going to love this one here. I get a small feeling in my head that this new sound and change is going to divide some listeners, but I really wouldn't let that deter you, because this is the same Devangelic that you know and love, but they have changed and grown for the better, and I hope they continue on forward with this sound and style. It is just absolutely insane. This is definitely one of the best brutal death metal records of 2020, and probably one of my favorites of the year so far. I can't wait to see and hear what Devangelic do next. So, if I had to think of any personal favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Swarm of Serpents, Eyes of Abzu, Embalmed in Visceral Fluids, Throne of Larvae, Vomiting the Infected. Just an overall great listen. So what I'm going to do is I'll leave you some links in the description box of how you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will leave you a link to the Devangelic Bandcamp page where you can pre-order this album right now. It is available physically as a CD and a 12-inch vinyl. Definitely pick this up wherever you're able to, and or just find a way to get a hold of it and own it. This is so fucking good. So again, the album is Ersetu by Devangelic. This is set to be released on May the 15th of 2020 through Willowtip Records. Go support this. And fourth score, I'm going to give this a very strong 9 out of 10. Definitely some of the best and boldest material Devangelic have done to date, and I cannot recommend this one enough. So if you are looking forward to hearing this Devangelic record, definitely let me know how you're feeling about it, what you're thinking about it, and if you're looking forward to it. Are any of you guys into Devangelic? Definitely let me know. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. Until next time, Armijo out.